Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Sylvania City Council meeting for July 20th, 2026. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Hanson.
Here.
Hanem is not here today.
Mr. Hanem is excused.
Mr. McCann.
Here.
Mr. Murphy.
Here.
Mr. Richardson.
Here.
Ms. Stowe. Here. Mrs. Westphal.
Here.
6 members of City Council are in attendance, therefore a quorum does exist. Moving on to the agenda, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led this evening by Mr. Richardson.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome to everybody and Sharon, welcome back. It's good to see you again in our council chambers. Good to see that you're doing well. And if you don't know, the lady in the back is Christy Orderica. She's the interim finance director, so she'll be here to answer any questions. Probably just curious. She might have picked the longest agenda that we've ever had in the last year and a half, but nonetheless, that she's here, and we appreciate you being here this evening, so thank you for that. Moving on, are there any additions to the agenda? I do not have any. Mrs. Westphal.
Nothing. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Members of council.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Hanson.
I'd like to give a brief update on the Lake Erie West Summer Assembly.
Okay. Let's call that 22A. My pen will work. Call it 22A. Any other additions to the agenda for members of council? Hearing none, Mr. Shaw,
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Chief Miller,
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mrs. Smith,
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Branny.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the amended as agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to approval of the council meeting minutes from the meeting of June 15th, 2026. Mrs. Westphal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move approval of the Sylvania City Council meeting minutes from the meeting held June 15th, 2026 as submitted.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes from the council meeting of June 15th, 2026. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item number 6. We have a proposed resolution number 7, 2026. Oh, I'm sorry. Report from the safety committee meeting I jumped over. From July 6th, Mrs. Westphal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the Safety Committee met on July 6th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. to discuss the use of electric bikes, scooters, etc. in the city of Sylvania. Present were committee members, myself, Mary Westphal, Marcus Hanson, Brian McCann, Lindsay Stowe, and other members who were present, City Council members Sean Murphy, Patrick Richardson, Doug Hanem, Law Director Leslie Brining, Chief of Police Danny Miller, Service Director Joe Shaw, Clerk of Council Claudia Witkowski, and several guests, including representatives from outdoor Sylvania community parks. I opened the meeting explaining that this was just an information-only meeting. The goal of this meeting was just to get everybody up to speed on definitions for scooters and e-bikes, etc., to understand the current policies that we have in place regarding the use of electric bikes, etc., and to share some details about the community concerns that have been received by the police department. So again, it was an information-only meeting. So with that, I turned it over to Chief Miller, and the chief reviewed the definitions of the different modes of transportation, ranging from bikes to electric bikes to personal assistive mobility devices. And she shared a video demonstrating concerns regarding electric bikes and other similar vehicles. Some of the primary concerns that came up from discussion and also from the chief included that many times people on electric bikes they don't realize the rules of the road. They don't understand what they're allowed to do and not do, and that can cause challenges. They may not be paying attention to red lights and stop signs and following the laws from that angle. When they're not sure when they can use sidewalks or when they should be riding on the road. They don't understand proper hand and turn signals. and the use of helmets and understanding the speed and possibly setting acceptable speeds. So there are a lot of questions that need to be considered as we begin to really carefully evaluate our current policies and what's the best strategy going forward. Some of the additional discussion in terms of thoughts going forward included considering widespread education programs to inform about the proper use of the sidewalks and the roads, having better signage available so people understand where they can ride, setting maximum speeds, determining when and where to require helmets, and there were several other things that were discussed. Ultimately, Mayor Fry did add that at this point we should also keep in mind that this council certainly can wait until the Ohio legislature takes action on the use of e-bikes, or we can set our own structure. He noted that cars certainly can go much faster than the speed limit, but cars are generally driven safely and within speed limits. So just a point of information there. Several guests from the audience did speak. Further discussion indicated that the next steps would include the chief would send out the video to all council members that she shared in the meeting. Safety committee members and any other interested council members are asked to review the materials distributed and send comments, questions, preferences for consideration and legislation to Service Director Joe Shaw, Chief Miller, and myself by 5 p.m. on Monday, July 27th. And with that, Mr. Hanson moved to adjourn the meeting at 6:35. Mr. McCann seconded, and the safety committees voted in favor. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from Mrs. Westfall? Thank you for the report. Appreciate it. Obviously an important topic for consideration for council over the coming months. Now, moving on to proposed resolution number 7, 2026 for consideration. Mrs. Smith, could you give us a brief rundown on this?
Yes, for several years, our employees have been inquiring about adding Roth 457 to our investment options. Currently, we have deferred comp and Voya. So through our same rep, Jim Montgomery, he is offering the Roth 457 for adoption this evening. That would be, it's tax deferred money that our employees, that we could help our employees build on their investments through this program. So they can only choose one. It's not all of them. They choose between Voya, deferred comp, and Roth. So we're going to have some happy employees once this gets adopted.
So another option, my understanding of the Roth structure is it's after-tax money, but it grows tax deferred and it's withdrawn tax deferred based on current law, correct?
Yep, a little bit different, and like I said, we've had some employees really hoping that we would adopt it.
Thank you very much. Questions for Mrs. Smith?
Mr. Mayor, is there a contribution from the city?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
On any of the systems?
No.
Okay, so this is still just another option.
Yes, another option for them.
Other questions? Hearing none, we have resolution 7, 2026 for consideration. Mr. McCann.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move adoption by title only resolution number 7-2026, a resolution of council of the city of Sylvania authorizing the addition of the Roth 457B option to the Ohio Deferred Compensation Plan. I'd like to introduce or passage of resolution number 7-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 7, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and resolution 7, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 7. First thing for Mr. Shaw, we got a lease modification for consideration. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, members of council. In front of you tonight for agenda item 7 is lease modification and extension number 2 for our Maplewood Mini Park. This year was our 41st year of operating that corner park in some capacity for civic functions that the Reap Funeral Group has been gracious to give us to have. That's gone through a couple of different extensions and changes, but with us doing a substantial improvement here coming shortly in that part of town, the law director and I thought it'd be great to revisit this. and make sure our I's were dotted and our T's were crossed. So what the owner has agreed to allow us to do is to extend for another 5 years with an option to do one additional extension for 1 year, so that would give us 6. After that, there's nothing there, so this is much shorter than what we've seen probably in the past. They did also ask for advance notice if there was going to be any concerts or venues in the downtown area. A couple things that they have seen since downtown has gotten some legs is when there's music playing, they may have a funeral across the street, and it can be a little combative with the two things going on at the same time. So they did ask for some help or some heads up to let them know when we think civic functions are going to happen for their planning purposes as well. So they did ask for us to cover the property taxes for the small parcel that's there. That was something that we had looked at doing in a past extension agreement modification anyway, so no problems there, but we tied it to actually what the cost of taxes are for the parcel instead of some fixed amount. So those are like the 3, I would say, high bullet point items in the change there. So be happy to answer any questions.
Questions from Ms. Dow?
Yeah, Mr. Shaw, I noticed in the contract that it said that the funeral home would be notified for any music events that were happening on the leased property, but I think you just said any music events that were happening in the downtown area.
Specifically the Redbird district. So I don't know if that's always tied to that parcel. So my practice will be if there's anything that I know of that's going on down there, I will do my best to let them know, not just specific to that part.
And then, I mean, I know right across the street, we've got Inside the Five with their new stage, and they have a lot of music happening. Are you gonna be reporting that, or do you know if they already have something where they're following them?
I don't know that. Like, it wasn't my goal to get involved in the private stuff across the street. I think those are private property owner discussions to have and coordinate with each other. Mine was more civic related. If it's a civic function, some type of civic event, that's where I would probably step in and say, hey, we've got something this date.
Yeah, sorry, my confusion on it was because I think Inside the Fives are members of Redbird, and then if Redbird is reporting it, I was just kind of curious where that.
I certainly don't want to be a middleman in coordinating
Right.
Inside the Five events and funeral homes, so, yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have ordinance 103, 2026 for consideration. Ms. Dow?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to introduce ordinance number 103-2026 and read by title only. Authorizing a second lease modification and extension agreement between Reeve Funeral Home as leaser and the City of Sylvania as leasee of the park area at Main and Maplewood in the City of Sylvania, Ohio. Authorizing the mayor and director of finance to sign such a second lease modification and extension on behalf of the City of Sylvania. I move for passage of ordinance number 103-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second. We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 103, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much, and we appreciate the Reeve Funeral Home for offering this lease to us for the next 6 years. Thank you for that. Moving on to agenda item number 8, we have proposed ordinance 104, 2026 for consideration. Ms. Bryony.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you are all aware, we've had some changes in our finance office this year, and we've had, and we do have something for discussion later, but this is a little bit beforehand. So as part of the overall taking a look at the operations of that department, we've decided to propose 2 new titles, financial analyst and financial coordinator, rather than the person who's doing nearly all of the work in the finance office currently. Her title is administrative assistant finance, and that just really doesn't capture everything that she's doing. So the mayor and Mrs. Smith talked to her, so she will be actually getting being offered, and I believe she will accept the financial coordinator position, which is an increase.
No, the analyst position.
Oh, I'm sorry, the analyst. I've been getting these confused all the time, so that's why I'm not in finance. So she will be the grade 22 position, and then we will be replacing that the current administrative assistant position with the financial coordinator position, and that person will be primarily responsible for payroll. So, and that will be a grade 20. So, and just so you guys know, the grades necessarily don't mean anything to me even, but those salaries are approximately 95,000 for the grade 22 and approximately 75,000 for the grade 20. So that's the proposed restructuring, and kind of since Nora left, taking a look at the overall financial department, division, office, and that's what we would recommend, approving creating these two new positions and getting rid of both Nora's old position and the administrative assistant finance position. So
if I could build on that.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. The objective originally was to look at the modifications of the finance structure after we had a director of finance. That was obviously delayed past what we originally anticipated. And given the circumstances, I didn't think we could wait anymore. But this is a budget neutral proposition for the city. So it's not gonna, we're not pulling any more money out of the budget from an expense perspective, based upon the two positions. We're eliminating two, we're creating two, we're changing names, is effectively what this boils down to. So we're happy to answer any questions.
So to clarify, Mr. Mayor, this is not replacing the director of finance position by splitting it into two. It's
Nope.
just clarifying the roles underneath that position.
Correct. So we have a director of finance, a role that remains. We have currently, until this, assuming this passes, we have a finance manager and an administrative assistant finance, finance.
yes.
They seem like misnomers based upon the roles and responsibilities of the individuals, historically what they've had. So the thought process was, okay, we're gonna eliminate the finance manager's job title, eliminate the other title for the administrative assistant finance, and create these two new positions underneath the director of finance. Oh, does that help?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't actually get into the weeds of every single responsibility each person is, but I would imagine this is in the, what will be in the handbook as far as.
Yeah, we will have with the financial analyst position, we've created a job description, and we'll be creating a financial coordinator position, job description, and also coordinating that with the new finance director to make sure that all of the duties that we think.
Before or after that person is in place?
Before,
Before.
that
So-
person,
so
that position
like
is
you said,
vacant.
This is, we're hoping they would be the one that does this, but now we're doing this, and when they step in, you're like, this is our.
And Christy and Bridget, who's the lady who's been carrying a lot of water for the city, particularly since Nora resigned, that is that's one of the things that I thought we needed to move more quickly, because I wasn't sure when we started this conversation when we would have a director of finance on board, and I didn't want to wait anymore.
Alright, thanks.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
Certainly when a new director of finance comes on board, if that individual would choose to tweak responsibilities in some way, they would have the power to do that, or the responsibility to do that, and that would be an option.
They would have that ability. Obviously, that I would want to have a long conversation with
course.
them, with Mrs. Smith, to say, okay, why do you want to do X and not Y? And explain the structure and maybe the number of people. We don't know,
Yep.
know what, but we do know there's been a lot of water carried by the two individuals that had those slots with underneath the director of finance historically. We're maintaining the same number of people, we're just titling the jobs differently.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
One last question.
Sure.
So the current responsibilities will transition to these new roles. It doesn't,
Correct.
create a hole somewhere else.
Nope.
Okay.
No, as Brandon said, we've got to sort through exactly what the individuals, and quite bluntly, the new director of finance, whoever that individual is, eventually may say, okay, based on your skill sets, because they're in the weeds with these individuals, hey, you should be doing X and not Y, and you should be doing, Y and not X, and they may swap some of those things around. From my perspective, the biggest two pieces, and I'm sure this is near and dear to the staff's heart. First, we got to make sure people are getting paid as employees, Second, we gotta make sure that our vendors are getting paid in a timely fashion. And third, we also need to make sure that we have a separation between AR and AP. They have to be separated. Just from a logistical, risk perspective, just doing analytics in regards to the way you function with a finance department, you need to have those two separate. So,
Okay, thank you.
sorry, that was way more information probably you wanted.
Good to know.
But any other questions?
Comments? Mr. Mayor, I'd like to recognize Christy and Bridget for their work and their patience through this process. And hopefully the quality of work and life get a little better over time here with this new change and also the introduction of the new Director of Finance.
Christy's been doing great work since, I appointed her as interim, probably a month ago, give or take, about a month. She's been doing young woman's work in that regard. And Bridget, as I mentioned, has been doing a phenomenal job as well. I know first thing, once Christy heard that Nora was resigning, the first thing she did send me an email really quickly. How can I help? What can I do? Can I give you any help from tax to plug the gap in an interim basis? So it was very helpful and appreciated by me that she immediately turned around and reached out to try to make sure that the city continued to operate and function effectively and efficiently. So we certainly appreciate that. That's probably not why you came today. Have a chance to get thanked, but we do appreciate those efforts. So,
Thank you.
sure. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, we have ordinance 104, 2026 for consideration. Mr. McCann.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 104-2026, revising the administrative, departmental, and divisional organization of the city and the codified ordinances thereof by creating the new positions of financial analyst and financial coordinator, amending Sylvania Codified Ordinance Section 129.01D to add the financial analyst and the financial coordinator under the supervision of the Director of Finance effective July 21, 2026, amending Sylvania Codified Ordinance Section 139.02A to add the class, code, grade, and title for the positions of financial analyst and financial coordinator. I'd like to move adoption as an emergency measure ordinance number 104-2026.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 104, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. And I've noticed that the role that you play, Mr. McCann, now and your predecessor, Mrs. Westfall, and before that, even Mr. Lutke, there's a lot of stuff that you have to deal that's kind of detailed oriented, 129, whatever. So
Sorry.
we appreciate it. But sometimes that's the way the things are structured. We gotta do what we gotta do, so we appreciate that. So thank you very much for that. Moving on to agenda item number 9, we have ordinance 105 for consideration. Chief Miller.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, our officers are each issued a ballistic vest that they're required to wear when they're on duty. Those vests come with a 5-year warranty. After 5 years, they're not gonna guarantee, and sometimes after 5 years, they're pretty well worn. If any of you have ever had children that are in sports and smelled their equipment when they bring it in, it's a challenge with these, especially in the last couple of weeks when we're pushing 100-degree heat temperatures. They tend to sweat a lot in them, so they're getting worn, and we don't like running the risk past 5 years when the warranty is. So those officers at the 5-year expiration will get new vests, and then we end up with a locker full of old vests. Several years ago, we donated some to Ukraine. The state of Ohio had a donation program for that, so we donated a lot to them. This time we have 12 of them that we'd like to part with to the Owens Community College Law Enforcement Program. Their officers in training can wear them at the firing range and actually become familiar with them and have a little more safety when they're on the range.
Questions for Chief Miller?
Are you going to include a Febreze spray bottle?
If they're that bad, we don't donate them. We throw them out.
There actually used to be a place, I think it was in Mayberry, that would, had some sort of a system, you put like hockey gear, cause that's one of those things that it's pretty rancid. That you would put it in there and it would come out smelling like normal.
Like that
But I don't know, I think that's since they're out of business, it sounds like a business opportunity for
It
somebody.
does.
This business stunk.
Sorry. Thank you for that comment. That's a bad dad joke for sure. Any other questions for Chief Miller? Hearing none, we have ordinance 105, 2026 for consideration. Mrs. Westfall.
On a serious note, thank you to Chief Miller for finding a place a place where these can be used and continue to make a difference. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 105-2026. I'll read by title only, authorizing the donation of ballistic vests to the Owens Community College Law Enforcement Program, determining said property to be of no further use to the city of Sylvania. I move passage of ordinance number 105-2026 as an emergency measure.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 105, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried and ordinance 105, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 10, we have a petition for a zoning application for residential lot development. This is just for council referral to planning commission. Mr. Murphy, would you, since Mr. Hanem is not here, would you make that recommendation to refer this to the planning commission?
Sure, so I recommend to move application,
Okay,
thank you.
that helps.
No, yeah, I'll read here, it seems it's a little darker. To move petition to the zoning for petition ZA 1/2026 for their review.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to refer to the city planning commission ZA 1/2026 for their consideration. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, thank you very much. And that will be referred to the planning commission in that meeting. That next meeting is
August 12th.
August 12th. Thank you. Appreciate that, Ms. Brandon. Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Moving on to agenda item number 11, we have recommendation for the zoning amendment. This is one of those things that was referred a bit ago to the planning commission for SUP 2023-2026. We need to set a public hearing for that. Again, Mr. Hanem not being here. Mrs. Westfall, the proposed date for that, working with our clerk, is September the 8th. Is that acceptable to members of council prior to the council meeting?
I like at 6 o'clock.
I think this is probably not gonna be controversial, so 6 o'clock should be fine, I would think.
Okay.
Does that work for everybody?
6 p.m.
Pardon?
That's not a council.
It is.
It's Tuesday, I'm sorry.
It's Tuesday because the holiday.
This is Tuesday, cause Monday's
holiday.
Monday's the,
Sorry.
no, that's okay. I looked too, that's why I know. I looked, I'm thinking, wait a second, that's too late. That's too late, that's too late. Okay, so, please.
I move that we set a public hearing for Tuesday, September 8th, 2026 at 6 p.m. for public review of zoning amendment application number SUP 3-2026 from Donald A. Percy, trustee, for 8310 Sylvania Metamora Road, Sylvania, Ohio, to change current B2 zoning to B2 SUP zoning for a SUP car wash.
Second.
Motion and a second to set a public hearing at 6 p.m. here in council chambers prior to our city council meeting on September the 8th, 2026 regarding SUP 3-2026. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and the clerk will notify that and send letters to all the residents, including the ones in the township. So they're all notified that is on the 8th. Moving on to agenda item number 12, we have potential CMAQ funding application. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In front of you is a request to submit a grant application for the Centennial Road and Little Road roundabout. This application request would be in the CMAQ program, which is Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality. This was a little bit unsuspecting coming into this year. We had just done a solicitation last year for it. Our agency or our local public agencies was successful in that program. We were able to get a roundabout at Haroon and Holland, Sylvania. There was a couple of projects that had been in a solicitation ago that didn't come to fruition within the program, which freed up some monies. So this $10 million that Lake Erie West has to administer is good news, at least for us. It gives us another chance, another crack to try to get some funding. So we've had Centennial Road and Little Road roundabout in front of you before. We've actually started engineering design on this. We were getting ready to get started on stage 1 submittals here pretty soon, but we're pumping the brakes just a little bit and see how this comes out. So anytime a solicitation window comes at us to try to grab more money, we of course want to jump at it. So the request for this particular project is $1,363,774. That would cover just under 61% of the project cost. We're estimating the total project cost at a little over $2.2 million to do that. Just a reminder, this is a T intersection. This is at Centennial and Little. Roundabout here, pretty standard cookie cutter one that you would find at a lot of locations in Lucas County. So any remaining portions of that, if we're successful, we would try to go after additional funding consideration in the OPWC program when those solicitation windows become available. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have resolution number 8, 2026 for consideration. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is resolution number 8, 2026. I will read by title only. A resolution authorizing the mayor and director of finance to file a Lake Erie West program grant application for the Centennial Road and Little Road roundabout project, and I'll make a motion for passage as an emergency measure.
Second. We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 8, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and resolution 8, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 13. We have a surface transportation block grant conversation. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is moving over to the other side of the solicitation window that is opened up at Lake Erie West. We'll have a couple projects to talk about here in the surface transportation program. So I won't go into chapter and verse on the one we just did because we are actually applying this exact same project in the other program. Something I've not done before, but I want to send the message to Lake Erie West. This is an important project to us. It doesn't matter to me what funding mechanism we use to get it done. I'm going to try my hands at both programs and hopefully we get one that sticks. So this one is in the surface transportation program, exact same request amount, exact same project, no difference here. It's just basically the same application in the surface transportation program. Happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Shaw, just for curiosity, the one the resolution was just passed. The timing of that is prior to the decision on this one, or are they both simultaneous?
Simultaneous.
So we could get both?
What I would do is, what happens is, and I've been a part of these before, is when an applicant submits one project for 2 different funding pools, we see how the money shakes out with everything, and then we kind of slot whichever one makes the most sense when you slot all of the projects together. So my request would be just one, whichever one we can grab, great, but the application request would go to both programs.
Any other questions for Mr. Shaw?
Again, just to clarify, we're only gonna get the funding from one.
I'm very hopeful we only get the project for one, so we'll cross our fingers and get it. But yes, we will. The maximum that we would get out of this request would be $1,363,774.
Approximately.
Could add a decimal point in there, but
Someday you're gonna have to sit me down and show me why you came up with those numbers, because they're awful exact, Joe.
You do have to submit engineer's estimates, and we are really ridiculously to the decimal point. So we're creatures of habit, I guess.
Understand. Any other questions for Mr. Shaw? We have resolution number 9, 2026 for consideration. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is resolution number 9, 2026. I will read by title only. A resolution authorizing the mayor and director of finance to file a Lake Erie West program grant application for the Centennial Road and Little Road roundabout project. I make a motion for passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 9, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried and resolution 9, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on, agenda item 13C, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this one is a second project that we are looking at submitting in the program. And for those that aren't familiar with surface transportation and how it works, there's two categories of projects that you can submit in here. We call them large and small. The one that you guys had just went through would have been a large project ask, which means a greater ask than $625,000. So Mrs. Westfall was a part of the policy board stuff. There's been a lot of changes in how surface transportation application scoring mechanisms are done. We made a lot of changes in that. And one of the things that we did do was increase our small project ask from 500,000 to 625,000. So, and added 125,000 available for small projects. So what we're doing at the Centennial Road and Little Road roundabout doesn't quite qualify for that because it's a bigger project. We need more money. These next two that you see are more small project asks to do. So Erie Street resurfacing falls into that category. This would be between where our roundabout would stop coming up next year at Highland View and extend all the way to the railroad tracks. This would be a resurfacing project. I should note that Erie Street was not even an eligible street for this program between these limits. TMCOG or Lake Erie West did some functional classification changes where this street we could apply to and say, yeah, we want this to be added to the functional class network, and good things happened that street did. So now this becomes available to this, so we can use this program to help fund it. So the whole project cost to resurface is $479,771, and we are requesting $319,817 to do that, which is just under 67% of the project cost. So same thing, whatever's left over, if we're able to get the grant funds in the small project category, we would come back with OPWC requests at a later date at City Council. But this is our first step to try to get funding to help us with that. So be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Shaw?
Mr. Shaw, just to clarify then, as part of these grants, that however the grant is structured, we always have to be on the hook for 33% or a third of the.
So the way that it works is surface transportation, the local has to be on for 20% of the construction cost. So these programs only fund construction dollars. So there's obviously more expenses that go with doing a project other than construction. You've got engineering fees, you've got construction administration. So while it's an 80-20 program, only the construction phase is what is 80-20.
Got it.
It's a good question. Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have resolution 10, 2026. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is resolution number 10, 2026. I will read by title only. A resolution authorizing the mayor and director of finance to file a Lake Erie West grant application for the Erie Street resurfacing project, Highland View Drive to railroad tracks, and I make a motion for passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 10, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 13E, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this is our last application request, our third one in the surface transportation program. Again, this one does fall into the small project category, but on the larger side of that. So this would be our last reconstruction effort on Main Street, south of Monroe Street. We just did in front of St. Joe's. We've got a roundabout plan for Main and Convent. We have a roundabout planned at Main and Brent. So that little gap that's left between Convent and Brent, that's what we're asking to do here, reconstruct those pavements. And then Main Street would be fully done south of Monroe Street for a long, long time to come. So this is our last request on that piece. We have been successful in 2 applications on these stretches so far, so we're very hopeful that we can get this last one done too. So the total project cost is $1,080,144, and we are requesting the full small project amount ask of $625,000 to help us with that. So be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have resolution 11, 2026, Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is resolution number 11, 2026. I will read by title only. A resolution authorizing the mayor and director of finance to file a Lake Erie West grant application for the Main Street reconstruction project, Convent Boulevard to Current Road, and I make a motion for passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 11, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and resolution number 11, 2026 is adopted as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 14, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. These are, I would say, annual things. Of course, they're annual. They've been here for quite some time in the city. These are our three special assessed project or funds that we do here in town. First one up is our ditches and drains. We also have street lights, and we also have tree maintenance for city street trees. So with this one under agenda item 14 is related to the construction, maintenance, repair, and cleaning of open ditches. This request for our special assessments is the first step. This all follows Ohio Revised Code language and the process for doing special assessments. Just to kind of walk you through the process a little bit. If this should pass by city council tonight, property owners are notified of anything $500 or greater of an assessed value. It could be for any combination of funds. It could be one singular fund. It could be any one of those. But anybody $500 and over gets a letter, the notice of those assessments. They have 30 days to provide comment and ask questions and say why and what and all of the details that go with that. So that you know that $500 and over mark accounts for 84 properties in the city, and that accounts of 100 letters that will go out tomorrow for all three of these as we go. Specific to ditches and drains, as you know, the 10 Mount Creek ditch petition was new to us, effective about 2 years ago. So we've been tracking that very closely to see how our county ditch credit is coming along to, make sure that we're able to cover our expenses with them. We're also taking a look at doing more projects locally here to try to help us offset those costs, but we did start increases in these assessments in 2025. Last year, we increased that $4 in the small residential and the large residential categories. Those increased $4 per assessed value. The commercial side of it increased 50 cents per 4,000 square feet. This year, we're proposing the same thing. We are proposing another $4 increase on the large and smalls and another 50-cent increase on those commercial properties. And again, this is all a little iterative as we go, as we watch how county ditch petition invoices come to us and we see how much credit we can get back from the county. And so this tries to help offset all of that busy work that goes on with those. So that's a lot. I'd be happy to answer any questions on that piece of it.
Questions for Mr. Shaw?
Okay, quick one.
Ms. Dow?
Just as a reminder, the designation of the small lot residential and large lot residential, those are aligned with the zoning map.
Small residential is under 10,000 square feet. Anything larger than that, residential over 10,000 square feet.
I guess I was thinking of our zoning map, that there were different lot sizes that are also related to the residential.
It's really closely tied to it. So like R1s would be like your large lot. R2, I think, is your small lot.
But they're not directly aligned in this. It's just, okay.
So 10,000 square feet, just over 2/10 of an acre.
Thank you.
You bet.
Mr. Shaw, how has this changed our maintenance from the past, the way we were doing things and the way we're accounting for them?
Yeah.
How has it changed with this introduction?
That's a great question. It's a gigantic learning experience. We've always done a pretty good job of maintaining our ditches, but to the extent that you can get a credit coming back to you, it has required us in the sewers department to be more aggressive at things that we do. And when I say that, tree removals, like if you've got problematic trees that are along a ditch bank, within 25 feet of that, if you think it's dying or dead, get rid of it. Like we can get that coming back to us in the form of a credit. So we're being really diligent on anything that's in a named petition ditch that we have, and seeing if that is going to be a problem to us in the next 6 years, that it has to be included in our scope of work moving forward. So it's taken a little bit to get our training wheels off and learn how important it is for our guys to be as active as they are in what they do. But this is our opportunity. We have a 6-year plan here to try to recoup some of those costs. So tree removals, if we've got some erosion on particular sections of our named ditches that we can get in and do, I mean, that's what we need to be doing. So it's a really focused approach right now is where we're at with it, more than we have been before.
Thank you. Other questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have ordinance 106, 2026 for consideration. Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 106-2026, providing for the construction, maintenance, repair, cleaning, and enclosing open drainage ditches located within the corporate limits of the city of Sylvania, authorizing the Director of Public Service by and through the proper officers of said city to do said work during the year 2026, establishing one district for said purpose in accordance with the provisions of section 727.012 of the revised code of Ohio, providing for the assessment of the cost and expense thereof upon abutting property. I move for passage of ordinance number 106-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 106, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried and ordinance 106, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to ordinance 107, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This particular one is on our street trees. So generally, we haven't made changes in the street tree assessment for quite some time. We got together with the Parks and Forestry Department and asked one specific question. How many problematic trees do you have in the city streets right of way at this time, and what safety hazards do they propose? So we tasked them to kind of review some of that, and they came back and brought a list of 12 trees that we should be looking pretty strongly at getting removed within the public rights of way. Several of those are on Country Place, which is the last street before you get into Michigan, up off of Summit. We have one location on Monroe Street and a couple other sporadic ones. We have 2 on Phillips as well. But these would be what I call safety hazards. A lot of silver maples are these categories. We've had issues on Woodrow Drive this year. I think in this spring season, we had 2, if not 3, city trees that were city maples that caused problematic either to people's houses or to cars that were parked in the roadway. So that's exactly what this assessed fund account is for. So what we did was we created a capital project that we will handle those trees this year. So what we're asking for is an increase of 10 cents per front footage to go from 35 cents to 45 cents. That gives us an extra generated revenue of about $29,000 for us to handle these specific trees that we want to tackle this year. So that's the only change in this assessed account, is just a little capital improvement project to address some of these problematic street trees. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So Mr. Shaw, just for recollection purposes, one of the trees that fell across Woodrow and messed up the Memorial Day exit from Veterans Memorial Park was one of our trees. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep. So these are the ones that we're trying to tackle. They're great big trees, but at some point they do become safety hazards. That's what we should be doing with this assessed account. So this is a small capital improvement project to address that next year.
Other questions for Mr. Shaw? Mrs. Westfall, go ahead.
Mr. Shaw, did you say this would be handled next year then?
Yeah, so the assessed, the assessments go in January 1, we collect the funds, but then we will of course operate in 2027 to have those projects done using the increased assessed funds.
Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have ordinance 107, 2026 for consideration. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 107/2026, providing for the controlling blight and disease of shade trees for planting, maintaining, trimming, and removing shade trees in and along the streets and within public right of way of the city of Sylvania, authorizing the Director of Public Service by and through the proper offices of said city to do said work during the year of 2026, establishing one district for said purpose in accordance with the provision of section 727.011 of the revised Code of Ohio, providing for the assessment of the costs and expense thereof upon abutting property. I declare, move for passage of ordinance 107/2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
Motion and a second, for ordinance 107/2026 to pass as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried and ordinance 107/2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item 16, Mr. Shaw.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. In our last assessed account, in front of you tonight is our street lighting one. In this particular one this year, we were paying attention to some of our tariff languages that we have with Toledo Edison. And metal poles is something we hear quite about. I would say not a lot about, but every year I at least hear some type of form of a complaint of the condition and the quality and the look of the metal pole that's on my street. Lincoln Woods is a really good one if you want to drive through there. Steel poles, rusted out, not a really great look. We are responsible for the maintenance of those poles. Toledo Edison and the tariff pay for the electricity with them, but the appearance of them, they can rust all the way out until it falls over. Then Toledo Edison, of course, will replace it. But how it looks and all those other things, those fall to us to do. So what we are looking to do with this assessed account this year is very similar to our street tree account. Do a very small project that we would start this year, where we would start a painting project or a pole painting project program. We're trying to generate revenue that would get us about $40,000 to $50,000 additional to do some of that work next year. We probably target some of our worst areas or our worst poles. The good news is our civil program that we did this year, we did a complete inventory. We know where every street light is located. We know what type it is. We know what condition it is, and we have a photograph of how it looks. So us piecing through all the data and figuring out where we want to tackle first is going to be pretty easy for us to do. And that's kind of how we generated $40,000 to $50,000 to help us with that work. So what we're asking for is across the board in our E, O, U, and W districts is 10% or 10 cent increases to generate the additional revenue to help us with some of those maintenance items next year. So, if you have any
So,
questions.
Mr. Shaw, before anybody on council asks, what's the E, O, W, and U, if I remember correctly? Where do those, give us a map. Where are those located?
E would be a vacant parcel. So you got a vacant parcel, there's no structure on it. That's E, real simple. O would be, it's an overhead circuit. So you've got streetlight poles, but they're fed with overhead wires. The U would be underground. So it's a street light, don't see any wires, but the wires are underground. And then W would be our decorative. So that would be Maine, Maplewood, Monroe, the black decorative poles that we have on there. So those are our 4 districts in our special assessment.
Questions for Mr. Shaw?
Mr. Mayor, you might have been being kind of hyperbolic when you said if it rusts and falls over, they'll replace it. But where's the in-between between regular maintenance that they are actually required to do versus?
Change lights. So change lights. That's all they do.
So nowhere in between rusting and falling over, is there a?
If I call and say I have a pole that's leaning, they'll come out and take a peek at it, but it needs to be to that effect for them to take any action on it.
I was speaking with somebody earlier today, and maybe some of you have had similar experiences, and they didn't live in the city of Sylvania. They called off and on, and finally had to file complaint at the Public Utilities Commission after 3.5 years just to get their light replaced for the street light outside their house. So unfortunately, I agree there should be some middle ground in there.
Yeah.
Rationality says that's the case, but
Mr. Mayor, I will add too, the increase this year, we're working feverishly with Toledo Edison, our LED credits that come back to us. that's been labored to say the least to make sure their billing appropriately reflects all of this work that we've done to put LED streetlights in. So that savings needs to come back to us. Labor would be an easy way to describe how that's been so far with them. But once that happens and we get some of those reductions coming back to us, this should offset it a little bit. The savings that we're getting out of some of these poles, we can then probably start to put some of that towards more maintenance and get these all shaped up. But we're not to that point yet. We certainly aren't in this year, but we're working very hard at that. So,
Any other questions for Mr.
Mr.
Shaw?
Shaw, the rate that we're enacting or potentially enacting, will this carry forward or is it for 27 only?
27 only. We do this every year. We'll come back for new rates every. So like you said, if we do see some reductions, we could come back and conceivably reduce these debt back down if we need to, for sure.
Thank you. Other questions for Mr. Shaw? None. We have resolution 12, 2026 for consideration. Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only, resolution number 12-2026, declaring the necessity of lighting the streets in the city of Sylvania, Ohio, determining the manner of providing street lighting and the basis for the property owner's share of the cost and annual assessment. I move for passage of resolution number 12-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 12, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Resolution 12, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item number 17, we have some right-of-way acquisitions for consideration. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are ready to start right-of-way acquisition services on one of our roundabout projects. This one is at Brent and Haroon Road. We've been working diligently through this. We are through stage 2 design. The plans are coming into really sharp focus and we're ready to start purchasing the necessary real estate to build the project. To help us with those services, we have 2 professional consultants that will help us with that. West Erie Realty Solutions is going to be assigned to project management, title reports, appraisals, negotiations, and closings, including any documents that need to be recorded to acquire the real estate. Their proposal is $72,540 to acquire 8 parcels on this particular project. Because this is an ODOT project, those appraisals that are generated by West Erie Realty need to be reviewed by an independent consultant. It can't be done by somebody with West Erie Realty. So you hire somebody else completely separate to review that appraisal, pick it apart, see if you agree with it, make changes to it so that when you're finished, you have an appraisal that's also been reviewed. And then that's the offer you go out to the public with. So that's how that works. So the review services would be done by Brian W. Barnes and Company, Inc. They don't have to do appraisal reviews on all 8. It's only ones that are certain dollar amounts that they do. So their scope of services is a lot less. So their proposal is an amount of $7,050 to provide those appraisal review services. So that said, we have budgeted for this all year. Our project account number is listed in the letter there. We are ready to start acquiring property here pretty soon. So we would recommend approval of both of these proposals. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Shaw? And I just want to mention briefly, my recollection is Mr. Shaw, since this is an ODOT funded project, there's only a certain number of entities that we're allowed to use for this kind of work. Is that not correct?
Yeah, great question. You have to be pre-qualified in all of these services to do this with ODOT. I will tell you the appraisal review consultant list is becoming fewer and fewer as I get older. It's becoming a little harder to find these guys that want to do the appraisal review work, but Brian W. Barnes has been gracious to help us with this on this particular project.
Appreciate that. Other questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have ordinance 108, 2026 for consideration. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance number 108, 2026. I'll read by title only. Accepting the proposal of WE Realty Solutions Limited to provide right-of-way acquisition services relative to the Brent and Haroon roundabout project. Appropriating funds therefore in the amount of $72,540. I move for passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 108, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried and ordinance 108, 2026 is adopted as an emergency measure. Moving on to 109, 2026, Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance number 109, 2026. I will read by title only. Accepting the proposal of Brian W. Barnes and Co. Inc. to provide appraisal review services relative to the Brent and Haroon Roundabout project, appropriating funds therefore in the amount of $7,050. And I make a motion for passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 109, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried and ordinance 109, 2026 is adopted as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 18, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In front of you tonight is change order number 3, final. This is for our downtown transportation improvement project. This is for the phase 1 piece. This is our final change order. This has all of the items that went up and down with the project, but very pleased to come back to City Council and report that this will decrease the contract amount by $275,680.18. So that is very, very good news. I must also be able to report that we were able to do this job under the awarded bid amount by $144,809. So other communities do their downtown streetscape projects and have big change orders and stuff like that. But I'm very pleased and real proud, honestly, of my construction team that was assigned to this task, both from the contractor to Eric to the construction oversight for all of it, to be able to do $4.5 million of work as good as we did. So very pleased, 3.3% under budget as a finished product, and would certainly recommend this change order.
So,
Mr. Mayor.
Mrs. Westfall.
Mr. Shaw, bravo for you and your team. I'm so impressed when I read through this information and saw that there was a 3.3% benefit to the city on this project. Certainly, this is a major project, and to think that you could come in under budget is pretty impressive. So appreciate your hard work and focus on that.
One of the hardest jobs in 20 years I've been a part of, but we did it, so it's good.
Mr. Shaw, the funds will go to the 144 back to the general or to the
capital
to the
improvement
capital
fund.
improvement.
Yep. As a reminder, this used COVID funds, so this had a 402 account that was assigned to it. We've of course have exhausted all of those that were given to us. So any balances that are left go back to the 401 account.
Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have ordinance 110, 2026 for consideration. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance number 110, 2026. I will read by title only. Authorizing the mayor and director of finance to approve change order number 3, final, to this city's agreement with Helms and Sons Excavating, Inc. for the downtown transportation improvements phase 1 project to adjust for several project overruns and underruns, decreasing the final contract amount by $275,680.18. I move for passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 110, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. And ordinance 110, 2026 is adopted as an emergency measure. Those are the kinds of ordinances we love to have. Bravo. Moving on to agenda item number 19, Mr. Shaw.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We bid our refuse and recycling contract. We haven't done that for 10 years, so this is something we don't come around too often. We had a 5-year contract that was extended once, and it was time to rebid, so here we are. Put that together, took bids on July 14th, and we actually had 4 bids received for the contract, which is always very good news to have active and interested bidders in our work. The lowest bid was submitted by our current provider, which is Allied Waste Services of North America, doing business as Republic Services of Toledo. So they submitted a bid, and I'll go over a couple of the numbers that were in it. So their refuse collection would go up from $8.65 to $9.36. Their recycling collection would stay exactly the same as it was before. They charged us $4.49, and that will be exactly the same in the next contract. The bulk item collection portion of the contract went down by half. They really cut, I think competitive bidding drives these types of things, but I think if they were nervous about someone else coming in and grabbing the service here, I think their cuts were on the limited collection service. So we get the exact same service. We were paying 91 cents per unit. That now is down to 46 cents per unit for a limited collection. So same thing, just costs us half the amount of money for that. All in all, that comes up to a contract that will actually be less this next year than it will be than we're currently paying right now. So $1,067,679.36 is their bid. That's less than the $1,882,146.56 that they are currently providing that is. Now, none of that factors in fuel cost adjustments or anything like that. That's base fuel charges, but all in all, the public bid was good for us. The next lowest, so that you guys know, was approximately $160,000 more than Republic Services. That was Stevens Disposal. We also received bids from Priority and Clum, and those were significantly higher totals as well. So that's how everything kind of shook out. We would certainly recommend moving forward with the provider that we've had at a less cost than we've paid in the past year. So happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions for Mr. Shaw?
Just out of curiosity, Mr. Shaw, are the cost of the toters and all that kind of baked into the pie with what they're bidding?
They have to, especially for the ones that don't have the toters currently in service. So the other three are at a pretty significant disadvantage.
Because that's why I was just curious. Okay.
Good point.
And do we have renewals as we did trigger on the last contract?
3% renewals for each year that goes for the 5 years. Yep, so it'll go up 3% every year.
Thank you.
Mr. Shaw, was there, I can't remember when, a year ago or so, there was like an interruption in service, and I don't remember the details, due to some union thing that was happening in another state. Is there concern of more of that happening? Was that discussed at all in the bidding process, or?
Always a concern. If labor stuff is stuff that's out of our control. I will say on what happened to us last year after the dust had settled, it certainly is disruptive to people. I don't want to discount that. But I can easily say that no one in Sylvania missed their refuse collection. It was delayed, but nobody got missed, and we missed 1 week of recycling collection during that labor dispute. So all in all, we favored okay. We did not have stinking trash at the curb for weeks on end. They handled it as good as they could have. The communication I acknowledged, and they totally acknowledged it was not good and where it needed to go. They're making a lot of changes internally on what they do to help communicate better, to track better, to do some other things better. But we're always going to be subject to that, right? And the thing is making sure they manage it and communicate it effectively well with us. We have not had any disruption like that, at least in my time here. Some of you have been here obviously much longer than I have, but I thought for the most part they handled it as good as they could have. So that answer your question?
That's it. Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Shaw?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Hanson?
Mr. Shaw, the fuel surcharge, does that fluctuate or is that locked in?
Great question. So it's a three-month previous rolling thing. So what we do is in the contract, we establish a base rate. In our last contract, it was $2.50. Nobody's been paying diesel $2.50 for a decade. So we bump that up to $3.50 to start as your base. And then what happens is we look at Department of Labor statistics on what the past 3-month average was for diesel costs. We average that out. And then we use that to establish our fuel adjustment basis for that next 3 months that's coming up. So we do a look back, establish the average, bill for that. And then again, once that next 3 months is over, we go back and look again. And then it's just kind of a 3-month rolling average that we work with.
So effectively, by setting the new number at $3.50 and not $2.50, which is the current contract, that's actually an incremental reduction if the price of diesel remains the same.
That's correct.
Other questions for Mr. Shaw? one thing, I'll make comments after we consider this ordinance 111/2026. Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 111-2026, determining the lowest and best bid for collection and disposal of residential curbside refuse and recycling in the city of Sylvania, Ohio, accepting the bid of Allied Waste Services of North America LLC, doing business as Republic Services of Toledo, rejecting all other bids, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to enter into a contract pursuant to the lowest and best bid, the advertisement therefore, notice to bidders, request for bids including specifications for the refuse and recycling collection and disposal contract, and chapters 941 and 943 of the Codified Ordinances of Sylvania, 1979 as amended. I move for passage of ordinance number 111-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 111/2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. And ordinance 111/2026 is adopted as an emergency measure. Now, one thing that I know Mr. Shaw and I had conversations about off and on over the last year or so, for your consideration and hopefully to evaluate is how we collect this from the public, not whether we're using Republic or somebody else. It's how we collect this from the public. We've not looked at that in many years. And it's kind of a convoluted system. It involves tax and service department and who gets charged and who doesn't get charged based on the amount of income tax that they pay. I don't know, there's like, what is there, Christie, about 12 different steps you have to evaluate in order to figure out whether they're, whether they pay these, what amount of money they pay for refuse and recycling collection. Is that about right? So it's something we haven't looked at in many years. I think it would be educational. I don't know, Mr. Heenan's not here. Mrs. Westfall, you're the next longest serving member. I don't remember this being a conversation in my time on council in 10 years. I don't know.
I don't know that we've ever had an official meeting on it. We've had very surface-like discussions at the council table,
Right.
recognizing that this is something that should be reviewed, but I don't think it's ever happened.
Yeah, my thought process and my recommendation to you as council members is let's, if we could hold a meeting to educate ourselves on how this collection occurs. We have individuals who work in the city and live in the city that don't pay the tax. We have people who work somewhere else and do pay the tax. It's all over the map. And I think it would be helpful to sit down and have that conversation to decide for next year, how does the city want to collect this money? Currently, about $300,000 a year of the general fund. Is it about 300,000, Mr. Shaw?
A little north of that,
A little north of $300,000 a year of the general fund monies are paid towards this million and change that we're currently paying for refuse and recycling. So I think it might be helpful to have a conversation about that. Obviously, it's your decision as council members whether you'd like to hold a meeting on that. We can talk about scheduling that, Mr. Hanson, or we can kick that to August and schedule it then. But if we're gonna do that, if we're gonna have the conversation, it would be helpful to have it in the next month or two, so that we could get prepared if we were gonna make any changes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Mrs. Westphal.
I also would say that I do think we've had a little more in-depth conversations at the finance committee during the budget process. And, I won't get into all the details on that, but I think that there's been several times when the finance committee has determined that based on the cost of the service, that it was something that we were not willing to, on the fly, make a decision to change. So I think a meeting in advance that we have more time to evaluate it would be helpful. Looking for Mr. Hanson.
Other comments from members of council? I mean, I'm looking at you, Mr. Hanson, because in my mind, this is this is utilities in my mind.
Well, and along those same lines, we would want to have that meeting prior to any budget discussions as
Yes.
well, which would be
End of
October.
October, usually.
Yeah.
Middle October, maybe.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking, if we scheduled something maybe for the first week of September, you know, if there's any, the first meeting in September, and if there's any follow-up, we could have another meeting if necessary, but that's obviously your call.
Yeah,
Mr. Hanson.
I'll look at kind of calendars and maybe we can schedule it at our next council meeting for a meeting in September.
Okay.
If that works.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you very much for that. Appreciate the conversation. Moving on to agenda item number 20. Wow. We have resolution 13, 2026 for consideration. Ms. Brenny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is actually a cleanup annexation. It's property that everyone had assumed was in the city and just we have not been able to finalize the paperwork so we thought the easiest way was just to redo it. This is a quick annexation process. We're not doing a hearing, it's just the 30-day. This is for the Goldfish Swim School. So as part of that process, as you know, we always have to adopt a statement saying that we'll provide certain services to the property, and that's just what this resolution is.
Questions from Ms. Brenny? Hearing none, we have resolution 13, 2026 for consideration. Ms. Stowe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to introduce resolution number 13-2026 and read by title only. Adopting a statement pursuant to revised code of Ohio 709-03D, indicating what services will be provided to the area proposed to be annexed to the city of Sylvania by petition for annexation filed with the Board of Lucas County Commissioners. I move for passage of resolution number 13-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 13, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Resolution 13, 2026 is adopted as an emergency measure. Moving on, we have executive session kind of on the agenda as to item 21, but we'll set that aside for a moment. And Mr. Hanson, if you'd give us a quick update on Lake Erie West, that would be great. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So I attended the Lake Erie West Summer Assembly today, and just thought I'd give a brief summary. So typically the Summer Assembly isn't very well attended. It's normally held at a hotel conference center. I think it was at Penna one year, and the theory was always that it was due to summer break, essentially vacations and things of that nature. So the executive director, Sandy Spang, had this idea of, well, let's have it somewhere that might be more attractive. It was at the Catawba Island Club, and it was sold out with 175 attendees there. So her theory seemed to work. There were, caucus breakouts, city, county, township, and they all report back on the items discussed and the general consensus. And I think this was similar to the General Assembly in January. The top topics discussed were data centers, property taxes. I think those two were the same as earlier this year. But then the other topic that was a hot button today was, and it kind of coincides with our discussion about organization earlier, it was talent attraction and workforce retention. Seems to be a common theme throughout all the municipalities. And then Sandy also gave some comments. She noted that a lot of the municipalities like having these types of discussions. They're going to introduce 2 additional sessions throughout the year. So it'll be fall and spring. It won't be on-site meetings, they'll be virtual. So they'll have winter and summer on-site, and then fall and spring that will be virtual. They're also planning a workforce study, essentially a survey, where they're looking at why are people moving. They see a trend of people live in one county and maybe are traveling to another county for work, and they want to know why that is. Is it because of childcare? Is it because of housing? They don't know the reason. They want to see why are people living in one place and working somewhere else, and is there an opportunity to reduce that commute somehow? And then also, they've been working on a project for air quality, and it's just coincidence that we have this issue now, but there's a big campaign. There's going to start being billboards throughout the region showing what the air quality is. There was an ad that was displayed, you know, people say, when they go to leave, they say, phone, keys, wallet, and this ad said, phone, keys, air quality check. I thought that was pretty impactful. And Mr. Shaw, I don't know if this is something you might want to pursue, but they also, she said they're offering a purple air monitor to all municipalities at no cost. Where, you know, you can monitor the air quality in your municipality, and I think it must roll up into their database or something like that. So very good showing, lot of participation and just good discussion overall.
Boat trip attached to that since there was a solar?
No,
trip?
no,
I'm just checking. No, I appreciate the update, Mr. Hanson. That's interesting information certainly, and you know, I've not been to the summer one, but the one I attended in the past few years of January was well attended and well worth the time. So I appreciate the information. I want to take a note of the Board of Architecture review meeting minutes and the Municipal Planning Commission meeting minutes as well, that are attached as information items A and B. But now we're going to consider entering into executive session. And do I have a motion to move into committee of the whole executive session for the purposes of discussing potential litigation and personnel issues?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second to move into committee of the whole executive session. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Hanson,
Yes.
Mr. Hanem is excused. Mr. McCann,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Richardson,
Yes.
Ms. Stowe,
Yes.
Mrs. Westfall.
Yes.
6 members in attendance voted to move into committee of the whole executive session. Therefore, we're going to enter that now. There may be things that happen after executive session, but so you're welcome to stay, but you don't have to. So thank you very much. were made in executive session. Matters of personnel issues and potential litigation were discussed that were eligible for executive session. We have some proposed ordinances that are being passed around as we speak by our law director for your consideration. So we have ordinance 112/2026 for the potential modification of the treasurer's annual payment for the employee who's assigned to be the treasurer. Mrs. Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 112-2026, amending section 139.03E3 of the codified ordinances of Sylvania 1979 as amended by decreasing the salary of the treasurer from $10,000 annually to $5,000 annually. I move passage of ordinance number 112-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve ordinance 112/2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. And ordinance 112/2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to ordinance number 113/2026 for consideration. Mr. McCann.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 113-2026, accepting the proposal of RSC Insurance Brokerage, Inc., a Brown & Brown company, to provide professional insurance brokerage services for the city of Sylvania, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to enter into a client services agreement on behalf of the city of Sylvania with said consultant and declare, I move for passage of ordinance number 113-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve ordinance 113/2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. And the last agenda item for your consideration, after conversation, various interviews, accepting numerous resumes, a team of individuals made up of the staff, an external person, 2 members of council as well, interviewed various candidates over the last couple of months for Director of Finance. I'm pleased to announce the appointment of Mr. Sullivan Nichols as the new Director of Finance for the city of Sylvania, and also to appoint him as treasurer. Obviously, I make the appointment, but you have to confirm him if that's something you're willing to do. Do I have a motion to confirm Mr. Sullivan Nichols as the new finance director and treasurer of the city of Sylvania?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to confirm the appointment of Mr. Sullivan Nichols as the director of finance and treasurer for the city of Sylvania. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. And Sullivan, if you're watching, thank you. Appreciate it. Looking forward to working with you. And we'll notify him. If Laura hasn't already sent him a text.
Give me a minute.
So with that, are there any other items to come before City Council this evening? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn the City Council meeting of July 20th, 2026. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and we are adjourned until our next council meeting on
No, August 17th.
Monday, August 17th here in council chambers.